Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, as we, a bunch of international friends, gather around the virtual water cooler, talking about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, and all sorts of good stuff. And we do have a lot of good stuff to talk about here today. And here to talk about that good stuff with me is Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
John, I am good. I was contemplating the fact that I would probably kill some dudes if I were Batman.
It's funny you mentioned that, Robert. We just might be talking about that in just a minute. And also joining us today is, of course, Ashley Whalen. Ashley, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, you guys. Yeah, Rob, what an interesting random thing that you're thinking about right now.
I know. Why would I be thinking about that this morning? No idea why.
It's just something I wake up with the thought of every day. Hey, listen, guys, we got a bunch of things we need to talk about, including off the top. Hey, but before we get into that, little shameless plug time. Of course, we've been talking a lot lately about mine, Robert, and Cody Miller's new podcast, Best Movie, Worst Movie. We just put up the third episode up yesterday. You can, of course, get that podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcasting app. Go subscribe to it, rate it, comment on it, all that kind of good stuff. Check that out and let us know what you think about it. Okay, guys. Like I said, we've got a bunch of things to talk about here today. We're going to talk about this one little thing that I just came across this morning that I find very disappointing. Now, as many of you guys know, I worked for a number of years running the online video stuff for AMC theaters. I remember my time there very fondly. I've always been very proud, despite the fact that the HR department at AMC theaters is a bunch of demonic, bottom-dwelling, just incompetent morons. Anyway, besides that, I loved my time with AMC theaters as a whole, and I've always been very proud that I worked with them for a while. Anyway, I came across this article in Variety today. It's quite frankly very disappointing and a little bit disturbing. And the whole notion of the article was this, is that how America's biggest theater chains are exploiting their janitors. Now, I looked at that headline and said, well, what's this about? Here's the basic gist of it. Now, I only had a chance to come across this article about a half hour before we started the show. But here is the basic gist of it. So the major theater chains in North America, Regal, AMC, Cinemark, according to this report, a lot of us have this idea that when the movie theaters close, a bunch of the teenage kids who work there then go through and clean everything, right? Apparently that's not the case. What happens is that theaters, they don't actually employ janitors. The movie theaters hire companies, and the companies hire contractors who then hire independent contractors, usually the article points out immigrant workers, to come in and clean the movie theaters, usually from the moment they close until the moment they open up again in the morning, till the sun comes up. And it tells these horror stories about these people who are basically working for what comes down to about $5 an hour. And the story kind of leads like with this one horrible story about this woman who worked basically 9, 10, 11, 12 hours a night, basically worked for about $300 a week, doing this stuff 7 days a week. And when her son died, they refused to give her the day off. And it's that or lose your job and all this kind of stuff. Now, eventually, as you might assume, as the article goes on, there were some lawsuits filed. And this woman won $80,000 in overtime pay and back pay and all that kind of stuff. The problem is nobody paid it because technically speaking, she didn't work for Regal. Technically speaking, she didn't work for the big major movie theater chain. Technically speaking, she worked for a contractor that worked for another contractor, and there was nobody to pay the bill. And it goes on, the article goes on about this whole systemic problem that movie theaters, now granted, cleaning movie theaters is an expensive thing. Get it? So like in everything else in business, movie theaters look for a way to keep their costs as low as they can so they, don't go out of business. I understand that. But it talks about how they are implicitly involved. Even if they're not the ones who are, undermining and exploiting these people, they are exploiting a system that they know exploits people in order to keep their wages low. Now, there's a lot more horror stories in this article. If you go read it, and I put it up, I put the link online where you can just go to Variety online and read the article. And I found it very disturbing, guys. I found it very, and I'll tell you what, because like a lot of people, like I said off the top of this, I just kind of assumed, because, in between movies, you see the teenagers go in there and they're sweeping up and picking up the buckets. But I guess, afterwards they want to spick and polish and make just everything pristine. That's great. So they send in the real cleaning crew when all things are done. But I had no idea about stuff like this. And Robert, CinemaCon is coming up. When all the big movie theater chains and the studios all get together in Vegas, you and I are going to be there. I look forward to this every year. And I really hope this article that Variety's put out causes there to be some point of discussion at CinemaCon amongst the movie theater owners to say, hey, we're creating this magical movie-going experience. We can't be exploiting people while we're doing it. At the same time, and I really hope they come to some fundamental changes. Rob, you hear about a story like this. What are your first thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm going to use this to talk about one of my pet peeves. I can't stand people who leave their empty containers, whether it's popcorn, whether it's candy, inside the auditorium of a movie
Me either.
theater.
I hate that.
What's stopping you from picking it up and carrying it out yourself?
It's almost as if it's like this thing that just when we go see movies, like it's okay to leave garbage behind. That's one thing I've never understood. I mean, I make it a point of order to always put all my trash in my empty popcorn container and throw it away. And by the way, it's always appreciated because there's always people like at the ArcLight waiting to clean the theater. But look, I see this is just a systemic problem that affects all American businesses. And I think as we move further down the food chain in terms of support staff in whatever business you're working at, there's this feeling that people who are cleaning up after all of us are somehow lesser human beings than those who work in upper management. And, anyone who's worked on, say, a movie set understands that your production assistants have a vital part to play as much as anybody else on the set. Everybody has a vital part to play. And yes, I'm not saying production assistants should get paid as much as everyone else, but they should get paid fairly. And everybody in our country should get paid fairly for the work they do. And too often companies are so willing to exploit those. And these are the people that need the jobs the most, that need the money the most. And like the article points out, you have immigrants who are taking these jobs. They're just starting out here in America, pursuing the American dream. And what lesson or what does that say about us as people? I mean, I think it's a larger systemic problem throughout America that the lower you go down the food chain, we do feel people, their dignity, their rights are expendable and exploitable. And it's not right. Now, I understand the bottom line's important. I understand that nobody wants to admit that, hey, we want the glass in movie theater refreshment stands cleaned. We want the glass on the Coke machines that everybody has that are self-serve to be cleaned, so there isn't as much bacteria on them. And these are people that are doing an important task, that are making our luxury experience, because after all, what is movie going if not a luxury? We live in a society where we're not going to get eaten by predators, and we know where we're going to hang our hats most of the time. So going to movies is a luxury. It's a luxury experience the entire way, up and down. So why is it that there's a certain group of people that can be exploited? So this luxury experience can happen for the rest of us. I mean, it's never right. And I'm not some bleeding heart liberal. I believe in market capitalism. But I also believe that it's up to us to make sure that the dignity of all people are preserved on every strata of our society. Yeah, especially in movie theaters.
And I don't think anybody is saying that movie theaters shouldn't conduct good business. I don't think anybody's saying that movie theaters shouldn't do what they can to keep expenses down, to make sure they can stay in business and all that kind of stuff. But there should be some bottom line, denominators to say, we don't go below this, though. And like having people that work 12 hours at a time, 7 days a week, that we do not give holidays to, that we do not give sick days to, that we do not pay overtime to, that we will not give days off to if a loved one dies, that we pay them more than $5 an hour, in which nobody can live on that. So there's got to be a middle ground here between, yes, making sure we do good business, but also making sure that we meet certain minimum requirements of how we treat people. So I don't know, Ashley, you're hearing stuff about this. Does that, like, your first reaction to that, and does that affect the way, like, the next time you walk into a movie theater and thinking, okay, what had to go into making this beautiful experience?
Yeah, well, I mean, I usually think like that anyway. I've been in the service industry for like 15 years. I'm an actor, so I'm also inherently a waiter. And not all that's luckily I've had a little success, so I haven't had to do it as often. But yeah, I'm constantly considerate of my surroundings, and I'm just wondering, where is the empathy, people? Like, how can you? Why so much greed? I just don't understand. And also, pick up your damn popcorn. Like some of my friends even. They'll leave their cup and I'm like, go grab it. And then they're like, oh, well, someone comes and cleans it up. And they don't mean anything bad by it. But I'm like, they're like, well, this ticket was like, they think because like, oh, my ticket was like $17, it's just part of the package deal where you can like kind of like, feel like you're in a restaurant and someone will bless your table. And I'm like, well, it doesn't really work like that. They're not getting tips. So just pick up your stuff. Like, I don't understand.
I completely agree.
But It's all about greed, and I just don't understand where the lack of empathy is in human beings sometimes. Like if they just put themselves in their shoes for 1 second, that would never happen.
Again, I just really hope, Rob, that the industry will take notice of this article. I'm grateful it's in a place like Variety. I love the movie theater industry. I love the exhibitor industry. I love the experiences that these movie theaters facilitate for us. And it's just disappointing to see something like this. So I really hope at CinemaCon, as all these leaders of all the major theater chains get together and the small theater chains get together and say, hey, this is a problem and we need to do better in this. And I'd like to see some good news come out of CinemaCon where they at least address this issue on a basic level. At any rate, get the ball rolling. Get the ball rolling on fixing this. All right. Guys, with that down and out of the way, let's move off to this other thing off the top. Now, as some of you may have heard, there's this little movie called Star Wars Episode 9 coming out later this year.
What's it about, dude?
I can't tell you that because I simply do not know, as I don't think really anybody knows. But
there's been 9 of them?
There's been 8 so far. Actually, there's been 10 so far. Well, depending on if you count certain things and TV, movies, and whatnot. But
confusing.
There is a prominent Star Wars website called Making Star Wars. And a lot of you who are hardcore Star Wars fans, you're very familiar with their work. They're a really good site. Anyway, Making Star Wars today revealed that they have what they're calling the first artwork, promotional artwork for Star Wars Episode 9. And they put up the following on Making Star Wars. And you can see it here that this is now, there's a couple of interesting things in this poster. You see beside, just below Chewbacca and to his left, there's the girl in purple. Apparently that's Kerry Russell's character. We, of course, see the Knights of Ren. Of course, a whole bunch of ships flying around. One of the more interesting things in this is that you got C-3PO sporting Chewbacca's bandolier and bowcaster, which is okay. Not something I thought I was going to see today. And also included in their collection of art that they were putting out was what they're saying is the first look at Lando, rocking a badass walking cane. I don't know. There's something so slick about a dude with a walking cane. I don't know, whatever. I think I love it.
He looks badass.
He looks great. He looks like Lando. I mean, that's exactly what I would picture Lando looking like at this point. Now, one thing I will say about this particular, now, whether we don't have any 100% guarantees that this art is real. Also, even if it is real, there's nothing that says that this artwork is going to be like the official poster. I will tell you right now, I hate this. I hate it. And I'll tell you, I hate it for the same reason that I did not like the poster for The Force Awakens. Because what it looks like, and let me just pull up the full one again here just for a second. There's about, I'm just taking a guess off the top of my head. I'm going to guess 40 people in this poster. I'm just taking a wild guess. If you count all the various stormtroopers, characters, Knights of Ren, aliens, masked figures, whatever. To me, it just feels like they went, hey, we need a poster. And they go, okay. And they leaned over and vomited every character, every ship, everything onto a poster. It's like, oh, there, it's all there. Done. I hate that. I hate that approach that not just Star Wars, but a bunch of posters for a bunch of movie franchises have kind of been engaging. It's like there's literally about 40 people. Like 40 people on this poster. So anyway, even if this is legit, it's probably not the final official artwork or anything like that. But if it is real, couple interesting things here. We've all speculated that the Knights of Ren are probably going to play a role in this film. If this poster is to be believed, it looks like that's been kind of confirmed as we see the Knights of Ren beside Kylo. We've heard talk about the red stormtroopers, and apparently that's what we've got. If you look at the bottom poster, we've got Kylo with his white stormtroopers, and then there's the red stormtroopers, who I believe I heard are supposed to report to like they are the foot soldiers of the Knights of Ren, if I heard that right, but I don't know. That could be, it could not be. So I don't know, Rob, you see this. Number one, do you think this is real stuff? Number two, if it is, what are your thoughts on it?
It looks pretty legit. But as a long-time movie poster collector, movie posters in my mind should mythologize the movies that when you see a great piece of key art, it should make you feel, looking at the key art, the way the movie itself makes you feel overall. And if you look at the first Star Wars one sheet with Luke holding up the lightsaber, and then that Empire Strikes Back, they call it the Gone with the Wind poster, where Han and Leia are kissing. Those are movie posters. Yeah. You know, those are fantastical compositions. They're beautifully painted artwork. These are just, you know, these variations on Photoshop technique. And I don't know what I'm supposed to take away from this poster. What it makes me feel, like you said, is just busy. You know, there's a lot of stuff happening, but there's no point of view. You know, it's not eliciting a feeling in me when I see great, like the great poster art of yore. I mean, just as an example, look at a Disney poster from 1990, The Rocketeer. It was a simple Art Deco image of the Rocketeer blasting off basically at a 45-degree angle with all of this sort of Art Deco, like some building facade behind him, and it just said The Rocketeer. Everything you needed to know about the movie was contained in that original image. And this idea of pictures, I mean, you know, Simpson Bruckheimer sort of popularized it in the 80s with movie posters for like Beverly Hills Cop and Flashdance, where it's just photographs of the protagonists kind of looking at the camera. And this is just a mess, dude. It doesn't get me excited. It just makes me tired to look at it.
It makes me tired to look at it. Look, and I think, look, even if this is real, right? I highly doubt we're 9 months away from the movie. I highly doubt this is final poster art. Like this is probably some image, if legit. It's probably some image they use for, inside industry trade, trades promo or anything like that. This is probably not something that is meant to be the big promotion for the film. And look, I have no doubt. I'm really looking forward. I love what JJ did with The Force Awakens. I love that movie. But and I'm sure he's going to give us something great with Star Wars come December. I'm just simply talking about this whole concept. This whole concept. Because they use this type of concept for The Force Awakens with the just vomit every single character onto the page. And there's our poster. Done. You know, I hate that approach. I hate it.
If this was just an image, a tall image of C-3PO, like a bust with Chewbacca's bandolier and him holding up the bowcaster, and all it said on the poster was "The rebellion continues."
Oh,
I mean, that's it. That's all you have to show us. Episode 9, or the rebellion isn't over, and that's all it said. And it's C-3PO with that boat. People would go bananas. You'd be like, "Oh my God!" And it just shows. It shows to me that the marketing departments of these studios, it's all done by committee. There's like 100 people that sign off on this and probably give notes. I know people that work in the movie poster business. I mean, you think back. I think back to like the Lord of the Rings, and the first preview the teaser poster for Lord of the Rings was literally, there were two. It was Frodo, all sort of darkened, and he's holding his hand up like this, and he's looking down, and there's the Ring of Power in his hand, and that's all it was. And there was one where he's looking down and one where he's looking up at the camera, and that's all it was. and people lost their minds. That's all you need to see. It's sometimes the simplest images that get us the most excited, like C-3PO with a bandolier and Chewbacca's bowcaster. I mean, come on. That's what we've been wanting. He's going to bust out with that weapon. I mean, I want to see that. If he goes all Rocket Raccoon with Chewbacca's bowcaster, if that's in the trailer, I'm going to lose my mind.
Now, again, let's keep in mind that this is not the released promotional art.
Right,
This is not the official poster. This is not any of that. I just hope it's not a sign of things to come because, look, like I said, trailer's a trailer, a poster's a poster, a title's a title. None of them make a movie better. None of them make a movie better. And that's fine. So I understand we are just talking about this. I just hope this is not a continuation of what JJ did with his posters in the first film that he directed, because I hated that poster. And I'd like to see something.
You guys liked the Endgame poster, didn't you?
Well, I mean, it's the same kind of thing. I mean, I really prefer
I thought you liked it.
a more mythic. Look, I like it, but I want it just because I love all those characters. But I think a poster should be mythic. The image should be mythic. You want to put it on your wall, because I grew up with movie posters all over my walls, and I only bought my favorite ones. And you want these posters to, like, you look at them and you just think in your mind, like, oh my God, that's badass. Every time you look at it, this poster, I'm just like, it's indistinguishable from the Force Awakens poster.
Seems like everybody's doing their own little thing. Like they're all going on their own journey in that poster, in the Star Wars one. But also, movie poster artists need people like you, Rob, who can recall posters from all decades of time. Like, well, I mean, it's actually fantastic.
What's happening is we have all these talented artists. If you talk to anybody, this is what's called key art, and it is all done by committee. And this idea that you have to do this, what's called a star cell. Let's put everybody's picture on the poster. I mean, they should do what they're doing with Infinity War. I mean, with Endgame, and just show like an empty plane, or something. Just tell us what they're doing with the trailers. Do that with the posters. Make them intriguing.
Mm-hmm. See, now there is a fundamental difference between, like, say, for instance, the Star Wars poster, and there's two fundamental differences between the Star Wars poster and the Endgame poster. The Endgame poster, at least it looks like there's artistic consideration and everything. There's a particular color scheme to the poster.
Right.
It also only has, I don't know what I'm gonna take a wild guess here at 12 characters. I'm not gonna sit here and let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 13 characters, right? And that's too many. And generally speaking, I mean, as a piece of art, this is a nice piece of art. Would I like it a little less busy? Yes. Now, but you contrast this with this that has about 40 individuals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 spaceships, 3 robots, with no coherency to the image at all, other than just a bunch of kids who photoshopped and know how to use transparency layers on Photoshops and just slap all these images together. But again, I don't want to get too worked up about it, because there is a 99.99% chance this is not the actual art of the movie. This is probably just, like I said, something for inside industry, maybe even inter-office.
Or celebration.
Or Celebration, something like. But I gotta believe they'll come up with something better at Celebration. The other reason I think this is not for Celebration is because, once again, in this, it just says Star Wars. It doesn't have the title, and I totally 100% believe they're going to drop the title at Star Wars. So I believe they're going to give out some posters. But do you remember the poster they gave out at the last Celebration? The poster they gave out the last Celebration, when they showed the first trailer for The Last Jedi, and think what you will about The Last Jedi, that's fine. But at that moment in time, they had that great poster where it's Rey down at the bottom with the lightsaber, and the light goes straight up through the poster, and he had Luke and Kylo. Oh, yeah. I mean, that was beautiful. That was a beautiful piece of art. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping they have something like that in store for us. All right, we got to keep moving on here, guys. We're getting caught up in this. Okay, it is now time for us, guys, to go on to our main topics of the day. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You guys select our main topics by sending in your topics and questions by going to the website, www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. When you're there, you're going to fill out a form, hit submit, and then maybe you will see your topic or question here as one of our main topics on the John Campea Show. With that being said, Ashley, what's our first topic today?
First one up is The Purple Paladin. I've been a big fan of Werner Herzog as a filmmaker for a long time and got really excited when I heard he was going to be in The Mandalorian. Just saw that he confirmed that he was going to be the villain in the show. So my question, gentlemen, is what do you think about the Hertz as the baddie? Thanks, and bring on Matt Filthy.
The Hertz. The Vern. Rob, you're hearing about this. We've all been excited about The Mandalorian. What do you think about the Hertz being the villain in The Mandalorian?
You know, we've seen the Hertz be a villain before. He was a villain in the first Jack Reacher movie.
Yes, he was.
And I love the Hertz. I mean, he's watching his documentary films, watching his films as a feature filmmaker. I mean, I love this guy's presence. I think he's got exactly what is needed. He's going to bring his great German accent to the proceedings. And I love the guy. I mean, he can do no wrong in my book. I think he'll be a great villain. And do we know he's even playing a human being? Who knows? Maybe
is he playing a human being? Is he a voice of a CG character? I guess we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love his voice. I bring it on. I'm going to call him the Hertz from now on.
Now, just where this is all coming from is Herzog was just talking and he said this. He goes, now, this is not a secret anymore. A small part, really small part in The Mandalorian, the Star Wars sequel or whatever you call it. Sounds like something Werner Herzog would say, or whatever you call it. I like to act because I'm gonna stop doing a Werner impersonation. I like to act because I know I'm good on screen, but only if I have to play a real villain. I love that. This dude is badass. How badass is Werner Herzog? I'll tell you how badass he is. There was this one time you probably know this story, Rob, but there's this one time Werner Herzog was being interviewed because he's also well known as a documentarian filmmaker, a narrative filmmaker, all this kind of stuff. And he's got this badass accent. Like, it just makes me fear. Like, look at this guy. If he came to you and said, you owe me money, you're going to, even if you've never met him before, you're just going to pull money out of your wallet. But there's this legendary story about Werner Herzog. For those of you who not heard it, he was being interviewed by the BBC and they were standing outside. It was in some European country, and they were standing outside, and he's being interviewed. They're standing, and the BBC guys, and all of a sudden you hear, and Werner Herzog looks down. What was that? Oh, I've been shot. He was shot while doing an interview. He was shot while doing an interview, and all the BBC guys are going, whoa, whoa. He goes, and Werner's like, it's not a significant bullet. And he just tries to go on with the interview. Like, meanwhile, the BBC guys are running around. Where'd that come from? All this kind of stuff. Werner's like, it's not a significant bullet. And then he just goes on. He just continues doing the thing. But there's this other iconic story where one of his earlier films, I think it was like the early 1970s, he did this film called Wrath of God. And I'm trying to remember the name.
Yeah, that with Klaus Kinski.
Kinski, it was, right. So apparently he was doing this movie called Wrath of God with Klaus Kinski. And Kinski was notorious for being completely melodramatic on screen and very temperamental. Like, you think Christian Bale, oh, good for you. You think Christian Bale is bad? This guy would freak out. He once shot a gun at a tent where like production hands were because they were playing cards too loud and blew off the finger of a production assistant. But anyway, apparently, Kinski got completely irritated because he didn't like the way one of the cameramen was smiling. And he decided, that's it, I'm quitting the film, which would have ruined the movie, right? So anyway, Werner Herzog, this is how badass this guy is. Werner Herzog tells this story. I went up to, now understand this in his heavy, heavy accent. I went up to him very composed and I said, you can't do this. The movie is more important than our personal emotions, even more important than our persons. And this can't be permitted. This simply will not be. And he said, no, I'm leaving now. So I told him I had a rifle. There would be 8 bullets in his head, and the 9th would be in mine. He instinctively knew that wasn't a joke anymore, and he was very disciplined during the last days of shooting. Oh my God!
There's a documentary about the relationship between Klaus Kinski and Werner Herzog called My Best
Friend. Yes. Which you guys gotta see. I want to hang out with this guy and I'll be terrified of him every single moment that I do. And whenever I bring up Werner Herzog, I've got to mention this little movie, little comedy. Now, I'm a poker guy. A lot of people know that, but there's this little movie he did a bunch of years ago with Woody Harrelson called The Grand. And it's all about this high stakes poker tournament. And Werner Herzog plays one of the poker players in it, right? And I often talk about the funniest things I've ever seen in movies. And I'll often talk about Spaceballs, now Lone Star, you'll see the evil will always triumph because good is dumb. We talk about Blazing Saddles with Where the White Women At. We talk about all these funniest moments. One of the funniest, probably top 7 funniest moments ever in a film to me. The Grand is treated like one of these documentary style movies where it's a narrative movie, but they treat it as if, kind of like The Office. They treat it like The Office. Like it's a behind the scenes documentary. So Werner Herzog, he comes and shows up for this high stakes poker tournament. And as he's checking into the hotel, you see the valets bringing just cages and cages of animals to his room as well. And whenever they're interviewing him in the documentary, he's always sitting in the chair petting an animal. Like whether it's some kind of chicken and he's talking about his strategy for the poker. Or then the next time they're talking, he's stroking a rabbit. And I just never forget, they go back to him and they say, you know, you've been playing poker for decades. What's the secret to your success? He goes, it is important to maintain vitality. Therefore, every day I must kill one living thing with my hands. And it's like only Werner Herzog could say that. And so anyway, all of that is simply to say the notion of a Werner Herzog being the bad guy in The Mandalorian, to me, is just beyond perfect. Yeah. It's beyond perfect.
I don't know if I'd run for him or if I want him to adopt me. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's one of the two. I was going to ask if you ever worked with a director like that, Ashley.
No, but but I wouldn't mind. He sounds amazing.
No one's threatened to put 8 bullets in your head and then 1 in his own. Oh my God!
In a serious way, I'd be like, okay, I'll start again tomorrow. I'm so sorry.
I mean, the 2 biggest badasses the world has ever known, Mr. Rogers and Werner Herzog. There you go. Okay, with that down and out of the way, let's move on to the next topic today. What is our next topic today?
All right, Edwin Market, greetings, crew. Like a lot of other people, I've been patiently waiting for news about what's going on with the New Mutants. Did you see that Maisie Williams was interviewed about the film, and she said, who knows what the F is going to come out? When the F that's going to come out? How bad is this? Sounds like even the cast are at their wits' ends over this. Is this movie ever going to come out?
Oh, man, we've been talking about this movie far too long. Far too long. We've had to talk about this movie and all the drama that surrounds it and everything going on with it and all this nonsense. And now it sounds like, you know, even the cast is saying it's just ridiculous. And by the way, remember that when it was supposed to come out April 13th, 2018 of last year. I remember when the trailer dropped in October of 2017. And I remember going, whoa, this is so different. Like, this looks great. I mean, we're talking about a studio coming off, you know, doing things like Deadpool and doing things like Logan, like taking the superhero genre and really doing weird things with it that no one's ever done before. And I remember seeing the first trailer and going, wow, this looks kind of spectacular. And then it gets pushed, and then it gets pushed, and then it gets pushed. Then they're supposed to be doing reshoots, and the reshoots never happen. It's supposed to come out this August. No one believes that's going to happen. Anyway, the interview that they're talking about, it was in Rolling Stone, and Maisie Williams was talking with 1 or 2 of her Game of Thrones co-stars about the upcoming final season of Game of Thrones. And inevitably, the topic of New Mutants came up. And this was her specific thing. This is from Rolling Stone. Who knows when the F that's going to come out, she says. There were supposed to be reshoots to make it scarier, she explains, but they haven't actually taken place. She says she saw one of her co-stars, Charlie Heaton, the other day and asked him, what the F is going on with this movie? He didn't know either. She smiles. Hopefully this interview will make everyone hurry up a little bit. If it does ever come out, both she and Turner, that was Sophie Turner, who plays Jean Grey in the other main X-Men movies, are dying to get their characters together. It would be ridiculously stupid if they didn't do that, Williams says, Rolling Stone. Rob, look, I don't want to be a panic monger or anything, but when the cast of your movie is coming out and publicly saying things like, who the F knows when this is even coming out, this doesn't bode well for New Mutants, does it?
I think not, John. And you know what's really upsetting about this is this is the run. The movie's based on the Demon Bears storyline when Bill Sienkiewicz took over the art chores on New Mutants, and it's one of the most iconic New Mutant stories of all. And I just can't believe that they would allow this to occur. Like, the amount of money they've spent, millions and millions of dollars on this film. They have a cast. They've got 2 movies with the cast of Game of Thrones season 8 coming out. You've got Dark Phoenix with Sophie Turner and New Mutants, and it boggles my mind that a studio would allow this to happen. Again, I honestly don't understand it. I think that probably what happened was the film came out and they didn't know. They think X-Men movies are a certain way, and they went and tried to make this film different, and it probably didn't feel to the studio what an X-Men movie was supposed to be, which is weird to me because they have the script, they've watched the dailies, and it's always baffling to me when this kind of thing happens because studios are supposed to watch films hawkishly every step of the way. So when you wind up with something like this, it boggles my mind. I just don't understand it, especially because I worked in feature production at Warner Brothers for over a year. And, but then again, I worked when they made Bonfire of the Vanities. So it happens.
But I mean, at this place, at this point in time, there's no way, right? There's no way this movie is hitting its August release date.
No, it's like, what's Disney going to do with this now? But then I guess they got a premiere movie for Disney Plus, The New Mutants.
But then
again, why do they want to be associated with that if the MCU is going to take over the mutants? You could say the same thing about Dark Phoenix, though, right? Like you could say the same thing about that, but that'll be the last vestige of the Fox mutant universe. I mean, they kind of have to release it to put a period, stick a pin in it, and that'll be it. And everyone knows that's it, and then the MCU will take over. But it's so weird.
But here's the thing too. We've speculated for a while that we are now to the point that we don't think this thing's ever going to hit the theaters. That it will most likely end up perhaps on Disney Plus, maybe even more likely on Hulu. But now there are some whispers going around that they literally may just trash this movie. They literally might just discard it. And that is far more believable than, say, an X-Men Dark Phoenix, which cost a ridiculous amount of money to make. The New Mutants film was a very low-budget project.
Right.
But by major motion picture standards, it was a very low-budget project. So the losses they take on just trashing that movie are, by Hollywood standards, minimal, as opposed to a Dark Phoenix, which would have been a ridiculous loss of money if they had just done that. So yeah. I don't know. It's getting to the point over under 50% that this thing ever gets released at all, whether it's on Hulu.
I think it will get released somehow. Okay. They'll put it out. I really do, because there is a large investment. And by the way, it's not like they have actors that aren't in anything good. They've got Anna, what's her name? Anna Taylor. She was in, her star is on the rise. Maisie Williams, of course, Game of Thrones, and she's going to be an actor to watch in the coming years.
Kid from Stranger Things is in there.
The kid from, yes, and they've got this cast of and all of these actors are going to be visible and talking about stuff. I mean, if Maisie, I don't blame Maisie Williams. The movie was supposed to come out a year ago. She works on it. I mean, actors are only as good as their current projects.
She doesn't even look like that anymore, because she's that age where every year she's at that age right now where every year she's physically growing a lot. She won't even look anything like she did in the movie when this thing finally comes out.
All right. Sad.
Oh, yeah, it is. All right. Let's move on now to the next topic. Ashley, what's next?
Next up is from Joshua. There were 2 Endgame Instagram posts yesterday. One of all the living heroes in color and one with the snapped heroes in black and white. Valkyrie shows up in color as alive. However, Shuri shows up in black and white with snapped heroes. What?
Yeah, this was great because it was actually as we were doing the show yesterday, fact checker Jonathan sent in, said, hey, Valkyrie's here. And they sent in that one image. But we've had a chance to look at the full image. And here's the interesting thing. First of all, these posters are great. I just love the concept of the posters. Mm-hmm. You have Avenge the Fallen with all the living characters. And then in black and white, Avenge the Fallen with all the characters who have died. It is a beautiful idea. It's a wonderful idea. But here's where it goes better than just being beautiful, Rob. These posters, I believe, crush a lot of Avengers Endgame theories we've been hearing. And it also creates a couple of new ones. Let's take a look at these posters here. And there's a lot of them, so I'm sorry it's not that big on your screen, but there's just so many to go. So obviously we see it split down the middle. We've got those who are still alive in color, those who are dead in black and white. Interesting to note, on the dead side, I believe there's only 3 characters here who have died as a result of the snap. Gamora clearly did not die as a result of the snap. Vision didn't die as a result of the snap. Loki did not die as a result of the snap. And I think that's it. I think that does it for all the characters who died, but did not die as a result of the snap. On the living side, there are a couple of characters we did not know whether they were still alive or not. And this is where a number of the theories come in. First of all, down in near the middle, lower part of the middle, you've got Pepper Potts. You got Pepper Potts there. Boom, there goes a bunch of theories, because there were a number of theories out there that revolved around the notion that Pepper Potts was dusted. Tony gets back, he finds out she dusted, that she was pregnant at the time. He finds a thing of hers, and that's going to be a big piece of motivation for Tony. There goes that theory. That theory's now gone and out the window. Another character we did not know, if we look at the bottom center of the image there, another character we didn't know Hap was there. There were a number of theories floating around about Hap being dusted as well, also going into Tony. Right beside Hap, we have Wong. And there were I read a bunch of things, smaller theories that didn't gain a lot of traction, but I do remember seeing a bunch of theories about Wong was also dusted, that left the sanctum unprotected, and that some entity came in and took over the sanctum, and that will lead and be a part of Endgame as a whole, and all this kind of stuff. Well, there goes those theories. Wong is still alive, Wong is still there, so that's the thing. But here's one of the most exciting ones to me, is right beside Wong, of course, is Valkyrie. And now we all knew, or a lot of people knew because they mentioned it before, is that Valkyrie did get off the Asgardian ship before Thanos killed so many people. So we knew she got off, but there's her being there. So that's pretty big and significant. And then everybody else we knew was still there. Like we knew Rocket made it. We knew War Machine made it. We knew Okoye made it. We knew Nebula, and on and on and on. So we knew all these people were going to be there. On the dead side, there was a whole lot of theories surrounding the notion that Shuri was alive, that her appearance in the trailer amongst the missing was just a misdirect, and that she was actually still in Wakanda working to rebuild Vision. That's been a very popular theory. I've been hearing a lot of people talking about that Shuri's still alive and she's rebuilding Vision. Well, these posters just kind of reinforce what we saw in the trailer. She's gone, she's dusted. So there's that. So that's a part of it as well, too. And it brings up some new questions. With them listing characters that did not just die as a result of the snap, characters like Gamora, characters like Vision, how are they going to address these deaths? We know one way or the other, they're bringing all these characters back, but the snapped characters will undoubtedly, we assume, come back in a different way than the characters who died differently than the snap. Or is it all time travel? Or is it warping reality? Or whatever. It's just that it's funny, Rob, how we can look at an image like this and it sparks a lot of thoughts about what we may or may not get in Endgame. Let me ask you, whether it's about any of the things that I just talked about or other impressions you had, you looked at these posters. What are some of the things that stood out to you?
Well, first of all, I thought it was interesting that they've classified the living and the dead in the same way. You've got black and white as opposed to color, but the posters do say "Avenge the Fallen." So it's however you fell really is immaterial. We're going to avenge you.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that yes, I mean, obviously Gamora's death is very different than the people that were dusted in the decimation.
Yeah.
So I found it all. First of all, again, I just felt such sheer joy that they put these out. And of course, I like the meme posters that were made later. There's a bunch of different versions of Stan Lee that they've put pictures on Avenge the Fallen. And of course, I sent you my favorite with Sun Kang's Han from Fast and Furious. It says Avenge the Fallen, although the one I sent you was in color. So there's mixed messages being sent with that meme. I got that meme because Jen Yamato had posted it because she and I have the same feelings about Sun Kang and Han Solo and the Fast and Furious franchise. And I love this whole campaign. I first saw it, of course, when you sent the picture out yesterday that fact checker Jonathan sent. But I love this whole idea and the fact that they knew what they were doing. It was Marvel going, here you go. Here, we know your theories, so we're gonna mess with you guys a little bit. And they did it. They didn't make a point of, they let us figure it out. Not that it was so hard to figure out, but I just love that this is what they're doing. They know us so well. And look at this. I mean, I don't know who came up with this idea, but I'm sure Kevin Feige was sitting in his office, just going, I mean, the mastermind that he is, he's like, you get a raise. And they put this poster campaign out. And I just think that this is what makes it fun, man. This is showmanship is what this is.
I saw one meme. If you look at the very bottom corner there, you got the Drax the Destroyer one. Somebody took it and it was the exact same poster, but they took out Avenge the Fall and they put in Avenge the Gun. Which I thought was rather funny, going to the James Gunn situation. I thought that was great too. Look, bottom line though, I love these. I think these look great. I thought they were a wonderful idea. And as far as marketing, cheap. Oh, yeah. All you gotta do is get some graphics put together, release them online, and you don't have to spend money on a TV spot. You don't have to you just sit back and watch every idiot like us sit there and talk about it. Woo, these pictures are in black and white. What does that mean? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we do this.
I had people who were convinced I was lying, that they hadn't seen these posters on Twitter. They're like, that's not true. How do you know Shuri's really dead? And I'm just like, well, no, it's true. She's dusted according to Marvel. And people were like, but that's not real. I'm like, okay. This guy's not blue either.
Hey, look, let's not throw out the idea that if we're going to say they'll go through a lot of energy and effort to put in some misdirects in the trailers, which would be very hard, we can't completely throw out the notion that maybe they'll use posters to throw in some misdirects as well. So sure, there's that, but barring that, it looks like they've confirmed for us Shuri's dead. They've confirmed for us that Pepper's alive. I mean, could these be misdirects too? Sure, you can't completely discount those, but I think it's pretty safe to say after what we saw in the trailer and now what we see in the posters, looks pretty definitive that Marvel is telling us, yeah, Shuri's gone. Yeah. That doesn't mean there's not misdirects out there somewhere, whether they're in the trailers or elsewhere, but it seems like that. Anyway, I love this, and I know a lot of people saying there's not going to be another trailer, and I have no insider information, but I really do believe there's going to be another trailer, and I believe it's coming April 2nd. I believe it's going to drop while we are at CinemaCon in Las Vegas. Disney is going to come out and do their presentation, because every major studio does this 2-hour presentation at CinemaCon, showing clips and highlighting all the big movies they have coming out that year. And I'm going to tell you right now, I 100% believe that when Disney comes out and does their presentation, which, by the way, is April 2nd, is when they do their presentation, is on April 2nd, they're going to drop a new trailer at CinemaCon. They're going to announce tickets are on sale. And if you think we're excited now, my God. My God.
That means we'll be 24 days away from the opening.
So much good stuff coming. Anyway, we've gone on about that long. What do you guys think? Do you think there's any significance in these posters? What theories do you think these posters undermined? What new theories do you think are created as a result? Seeing guys like Wong and Hap, the guys that we didn't know were still alive for sure, are still alive. What kind of theories does this generate for you? Jump down into the comment section. I want to hear your thoughts. All right, Ashley, it's time to move on here. What is our final main topic today?
Next one is from Colin Tipton. So IndieWire reported some really off comments from Zack Snyder regarding his murderous Batman from Batman vs. Superman. Is it strange to me to feel a little attacked by these comments as someone who believes Batman should never kill? What are your thoughts?
All right. So what Colin is talking about is, there's been this big debate raging ever since Batman versus Superman. Batman in the midst of combat ends up killing a couple guys, like every other comic book movie character. In the world. How come when Batman does it, it's called murderous? How come when anybody else does it, it's just, oh yeah, that's just a regular superhero stuff? I mean, do you know what the body count of Tony Stark is? Anyway. But when it's Batman, it's called murderous. That frustrates me, at any rate. Now, I can only imagine if you and I are sick about talking about should Batman kill. Can you imagine how Zack Snyder must feel about it? Can you imagine how anyway, Zack Snyder was recently speaking, and the whole topic came up about, Batman killing and should he kill and all this kind of stuff. And this is what Zack Snyder had to say. He said this: someone says to me like, oh, Batman killed a guy. I'm like, F, really? I'm like, wake the F up. That's what I'm saying about once you've lost your virginity to this effing movie, and then you come and say to me something about like, oh, my superhero wouldn't do that. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like down the effing road on that. You know what I mean? It's a cool point of view to be like, my heroes are still innocent. My heroes don't lie to America. My heroes didn't embezzle money. My heroes didn't commit any atrocities. I'm like, that's cool, but you're living in an effing dream world. Now, he does also go on, I just didn't have room to fit it in here. He goes on to make a comparison, Rob, that I thought was pretty interesting with Moore's Watchmen. He says, one of the whole reason Moore made Watchmen was as a response and a reaction to this spit and polished, crisp and clean, super virtuous, completely unrealistic view of superheroes. And that him making Watchmen was a little bit of a response to that. Now, he went on to say that. Now, look. Let me say this. Did what Zack Snyder say to fans appropriate? No. No, it wasn't. Was how he addressed this to people who are fans of Batman and probably fans of his to come out and stomp them down that hard? Was that appropriate? No, probably not. And I'll agree with you on that. I'm not going to defend what he said. I will say this, though. Keep this one mitigating circumstance in mind. Like I said at the top, if you think you and I are getting tired of talking about should Batman kill, it's okay that Batman killed, Batman would never kill, blah, 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 all that argument. If you think you and I are tired about it, can you imagine how much he's been hit with that question over the past couple of years? Like probably every frickin' day, 5 dozen times a day. And can I, just as a human being, understand that some guy reaching maybe a little bit of his wit's end on that question, just going, wake the F up, like grow up, or blah, blah, like I can get it. Am I defending it? No, I'm just saying, let's at least keep in mind the mitigating circumstances that you and I probably wouldn't have responded much differently than the way he did. You and I would probably not have responded much differently. And so that's fine. The other thing I want to say about the whole Batman situation is this, is that I am one of the guys who completely believes that it is perfectly acceptable, just like every other superhero we've seen in the movies. I mean, hell, in Avengers Infinity War, Thor talks about how the fact that he's 1,500 years old, and how many did he say? I've killed 10 times as many? Like, however many years old times 10 or times 3 or whatever it was he said. Thor has killed thousands. Just watch any of the MCU movies. Iron Man has killed a lot of people. Captain America has killed people. Everybody killed people. When it comes to Batman, they lose their mind. Now, I understand there are a lot of people who grew up watching the Batman animated series, where he had, in that cartoon, he was deadly against guns, deadly against killing. My view on this, Rob, has always been this. It is a fairy tale to believe that Batman has never killed people. It's a fairy tale. Because here's the thing. Even in the comics, in which he has killed people before in the comics, but even in the comics, Batman visits unholy violence on people constantly. Mm-hmm. I remember this one particular framing of Batman swinging into this abandoned, broken down house where there's a thug, right? And Batman smashes knees first into the guy's chest. They break through a wall and then fall down 2 stories with Batman landing knees first onto this guy's chest. And then the thought bubble on Batman going, 6 broken ribs, a ruptured spleen. He'll be in traction for a year. No, he wouldn't. He'd be dead. And then we see Batman slamming guys' faces into concrete walls and blah, blah, blah. It's like 7 missing teeth, blah, blah, blah. His jaw will be wired for a year. No, he won't. He'll be dead. And a lot of times they try to play this fairy tale game in the comics with Batman, where he can visit unspeakable violence on people. Oh, but they're fine. They're not dead. You know what it reminds me of, Robert? Remember the old A-Team show? Where Hannibal and Face and, Howlin' Mad Murdoch and B.A., they'd fire bazookas at cars that are chasing them. That would kill everybody in the car. But the TV network made sure to show a quick shot of the guys who were in the car crawling away. Don't worry, everybody. They're blowing up buildings and blowing up cars and using M16 rifles and shooting, but they've never killed anybody. Everybody's fine. It's like, come on, now you're just insulting our intelligence. With Batman, this notion that he would never kill is insulting to my intelligence. Unless he's not visiting unspeakable violence on people. But there's thousands of times I read in the comics like, oh yeah, that would have killed a guy. And it's unrealistic to think that Batman, as a mortal human being, could get into an armed conflict with 15 thugs armed with body armor and weapons and expect, yeah, I'm sure there's not going to be any casualties here. I'm sure there's not going to be any casualties. And I think the way that Zack Snyder addressed it was perfectly fine. I thought it felt perfectly grounded. I thought it felt perfectly realistic. And I thought, he never went out of his way to murder anybody, but in the midst of combat, like Iron Man, like Thor, like Black Widow, like Captain America, in the midst of armed conflict, sometimes the results is the people entering into that armed conflict with you, they might become a casualty. And I felt like Batman did it no differently, and I have personally always been perfectly fine in what Zack Snyder was going for with a more gritty, a more grounded kind of superhero film with Batman and whatnot. I kind of understand his comment saying you're living in a dream world if you think that could happen and no fatalities would happen. I get it. I don't defend how he said it. I don't defend the way he was addressing his fans. I don't defend any of that. I'm just saying I kind of get it. But anyway, Rob, I've ranted on about this long enough. You saw Zack Snyder's comments and the whole issue. How do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, I feel exactly the way you do. I mean, even as a kid,
I'm actually surprised. I thought you felt opposite of me. Honestly, I really did.
But even as a kid, I understood that. Okay, I'm reading comic books, and they're not going to allow people to die. When you're watching the G.I. Joe animated series, it's as if no one's going to die. I knew there'll
always be the parachute when G.I. Joe blows up a Cobra plane. They always show the parachute coming down. Don't worry, they're fine. I've
always understood that in combat, people die. One of the most annoying. I've never been really angry at fandom until Man of Steel came out, and I had to listen to all the idiots. And I will call you all idiots. I love you all, but these people were idiots, saying that Superman doesn't kill and he never would have killed Zod. And I'm thinking to myself, they're bringing an extinction level event onto the planet Earth. They've got a world engine in the Indian Ocean. They're going to destroy all life on Earth. And people were mad that Superman killed Zod. I'm like, what was he going to do? There's not a jail on the Earth that's going to hold him. There's nothing you can do with Zod. You either throw him into the sun and vanquish him forever, or you snap his neck and kill him. Superman, and that was something bad. I'm like, Superman saved the planet. He literally saved 7 billion people. And if it cost him the life of one Kryptonian or whoever else, that's the cost of war. That's what war is. And Batman has been waging a war on crime. It makes sense that he has high caliber machine guns on the Batmobile in Batman v Superman. I mean, Batman does not care. Like in our minds, Batman doesn't kill. Well, in the real world, that doesn't work. I mean, if guys are coming at you with weapons of destruction, what are you going to do? Try and dodge bullets until one clips you and you're taken down? You have to fight. You have to fight fire with fire. You have to fight force with commensurate force, and that's what Batman does. I've never believed Batman doesn't kill. I've always understood in my mind, even as a kid, Batman has to kill. Just like when a swordsman shows up with scimitars in Raiders, rather than fight that guy, Indiana Jones guns him down. I don't think Indiana Jones is less of a hero. In the world that human beings have created over the last 10,000 years or whatever, we got to kill some motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way it works. That's the way it works. People got to die. If you're fighting a war against evil, you don't coddle evil, hoping evil's going to get better. Evil must be vanquished. And okay, maybe you take the Nazis to Nuremberg and put them on trial. But you know what? The Nazis weren't doing that to civilian populations.
Well,
No, I
and
also
the other thing here, don't forget though, it's not like Batman. Never in the movies did Batman go, other than with Superman, because he thought Superman was going to end the world. He never, like some people would often ask me, Rob, they say, well, then why didn't Batman just go out and murder the Joker? Because Batman in the movie, Zack Snyder never had Batman setting out with the purpose of killing people. But if you enter into combat with him, you may end up dead. If you choose to get into combat with Batman, you may end up dead. But it's not like he was going out of his way going, I think I'm going to murder some people today. I mean,
no, I don't think
that wasn't his approach.
You're exactly right. I mean, Batman is not somebody who wants to go out and kill. Nobody wants to go out and kill. That's not something. I mean, I'm sure there's some people. There's villains and serial killers and all that want to hunt humans or whatever. But our heroes, their raison d'être is to do good and to help others. That's what they're trying to do. But in Superman 2, the beginning of that movie, those terrorists have a nuclear bomb in the Eiffel Tower. Now, you don't see Superman kill anybody in Superman 2 until perhaps the very end. But when you're dealing with terrorists that have a nuclear bomb that is going to destroy one of the most beautiful cities in the world, I don't think it's beyond reason to think a couple of guys might have to die in saving that city. And you're not going to, Superman doesn't kill. Yeah, you're right. Just let those villains detonate that nuclear bomb.
Well, and to your point, like in a situation like that, okay, Superman could very reasonably get in there and take those guys out without much problem, without having to kill them. A couple of regular human guys, he could zip in there with the super speed, take him out, blah, blah, blah. With Zod, a lifelong trained military guy, and Superman's been Superman for a day, and Superman's able to finally get him into a hold, and Zod says to him, oh, by the way, you got me right now, but I ain't going to stop till I kill every single human being on this earth. Well, this isn't some regular human terrorist. This is Zod, who's going to get out of this hold eventually, and he just told me that once he does, he's killing everybody. What's he supposed to do? And I think more people were mad at Zack Snyder for I think if they really searched their hearts, Rob, they weren't mad that Superman had to kill Zod. They were mad that Superman was put in a position where he would have to kill Zod. But everybody wanted, DC to be more grounded, more real. It's like, all right, you want grounded? You want real? Here's the situation. This dude's got to make a life or death decision right here, right now. It's not what he woke up this morning wanting to do, but he's found himself in this situation. What does Superman do? Does he let the world die, or does he take out Zod? There was no third option. Everybody likes to pretend there were third and fourth options. Zack Snyder crafted a scenario where there was no third option. It was either you let this guy loose and he's going to go kill everybody, or you got to end him. And I see that kind of in the same tone with Batman. And again, getting back to Zack Snyder, I don't think he should have unleashed like that. I don't think he should have put down people who have the opinion, because I'll have a good debate with people who think Batman shouldn't kill in the movies, and we'll have fun. We'll debate it. I'll never say, grow the F up. I'm not going to say that to anybody, but again, I just keep in mind, he's probably had to address this question 5,000 times. He's probably heard it 1,000,000 times. The amount of shit he's probably taken from people over the last 2 years over this one issue is probably be enough to drive any of us to our wits' end. And he kind of unloaded. Should he have? No. But in our human hearts, we got to at least make a little bit of room that we can understand why maybe a human dude might finally just want to unload a little bit of that, right? So anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. Okay, guys, with all that out of the way now, we're going to get to some live questions in just a second. But before we do, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world of entertainment, and we don't have time on this show to address all of them as main topics. But I do want to make sure you guys get caught up to speed on all the stuff going on in the world of movies and movie news and television, stuff like that. So this is a little thing that we call the movie news feed. Check this out. First up, we've got another movie remake on its way, this time in the form of 1955's Guys and Dolls, which starred Marlon Brando, Gene Simmons, Frank Sinatra, and Vivian Blaine, and was directed by Joseph L. Mankiewicz, who also wrote the screenplay. From Variety, TriStar Pictures has acquired remake rights to the original Damon Runyon short stories about gamblers and gangsters that inspired the shows, as well as the rights to the Broadway musical. The studio has also acquired remake rights to the previous 1955 film adaptation. Movie musicals have had box office success recently with adaptations of Hairspray, Chicago, and Les Mis, and original musicals The Greatest Showman and La La Land. In the case of Guys and Dolls, the film boasts one of the greatest collections of show tunes ever, namely If I Were a Belle, Sit Down You're Rockin' the Boat, Luck Be a Lady, and Adelaide's Lament, and of course, A Bushel and a Peck. Next up, writer-director Kevin Smith has often tapped a recurring cast list for his View Askewniverse films. Jason Lee, Joey Lauren Adams, and Brian O'Halloran have all starred in multiple View Askewniverse movies. Like these actors, Ben Affleck has also played multiple roles in several of Smith's films. He played roles in films like Mallrats, Dogma, Chasing Amy, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. This has led many to wonder if Affleck will have a role in Smith's upcoming Jay and Silent Bob reboot from Cinema Blend. Responding to a question about whether he would make an appearance, he said, "Your guess is as good as mine. I haven't been asked to make an appearance, but you never know. There's still time. We'll see. I think if it was up to me, I would rather do Holden than Shannon, but I would defer to Kevin." Seeing as Reboot is in direct line with Strikes Back, it would make sense for Affleck to return as Holden. That character is responsible for co-creating the comic book Blunt Man and Chronic, the comic book based on Jay and Silent Bob that Hollywood was adapting in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. We'll just have to wait and see if Kevin Smith drops Ben Affleck a line. Jay and Silent Bob Reboot is currently shooting. Next up, the third film in the Annabelle franchise, Annabelle Comes Home, is fast approaching theaters. From GeekTyrant.com, the movie picks up with the Warrens bringing Annabelle to their artifacts room, where it awakens the evil within that room and they target the Warrens' 10-year-old daughter, Judy. It was also teased that Annabelle basically activates all the other haunted artifacts in that room, and things are going to get crazy terrifying. Now, producer James Wan has shared the first image of Annabelle Comes Home via Instagram. In the image, we see the evil demonic doll sitting in the home of Lorraine and Ed Warren. The doll is one of many haunted artifacts that reside in their home, and as you might expect, it wreaks havoc on the Warrens' home. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga will reprise their roles in the franchise, and they will be joined by Captain Marvel and gifted star McKenna Grace, who will play the Warrens' young daughter, Judy. Annabelle Comes Home is due in theaters on July the 3rd. Next up, Focus Features is adapting the New York Times bestseller Carrie and Me. The memoir was written by Hollywood icon Carol Burnett and was a tribute to her late daughter, Carrie Hamilton. From Deadline, published in 2013, the novel shares intimate details of Carrie's life as the daughter of one of the most beloved figures on television and in film. Burnett opens up about her daughter's journey from teenage drug addiction to her sober adult life, where she found happiness and success as an actress and a writer before her untimely passing from cancer at just the age of 38. The film will follow the highs and lows of Burnett's life as a working mother, actress, and producer, all told through her relationship with her daughter Carrie. Small-town crime scribes Ian and Esham Nelms have been hired to adapt the screenplay. Burnett is producing the project via her Mabel Cat Productions company, along with Tina Fey. And finally, Netflix has produced a long line of stand-up specials lately, and now we've got another one on the horizon. From comingsoon.net, the streaming giant will produce Tiffany Haddish Presents They Ready, which will introduce a diverse group of 6 up-and-coming stand-up comedians, each doing their own half-hour special. The title is a callback to Haddish's Showtime special, She Ready, From the Hood to Hollywood, which launched in 2017. All 6 comedians were personally chosen by Haddish, who said the following: "I am introducing 6 of my favorite comedians. In my eyes, they are superstars, the epitome of They Ready." Haddish will serve as executive producer for She Ready Productions alongside Wanda Sykes and Paige Hurwitz. Sykes and Hurwitz's Push It Productions will also produce. And that'll do it for this installment of the Movie News Feed. All right, guys, now you guys are all caught up to date. And speaking about getting caught up, I missed a major topic that we were supposed to do before going into the Movie News Feed. So let's get to that right now. Ashley, what is our last main topic of the day?
All right, the real last main one is from Lewis Thrift. With there being so many streaming services now, is it inevitable that some of them will need to start offering ad-supported free or low-cost tiers in order for more people to sign up? I pay for Netflix, Amazon, Sky's Now TV, and a couple of anime services, but I'm really close to hitting my limit. If I lived in the U.S., I may already be past it. Thank you for being such an optimistic and positive voice.
All right, as I've just finished explaining to you why Batman should kill some fools.
Yeah. I swore too. I'm sorry for swearing. I apologize for using a big bad word.
Look, we've been talking about the streaming stuff here, Rob, for a while because we already have a number of the streaming giants: Amazon, Hulu, Netflix. Many Warner Brothers has got theirs now. DC streaming, all like Disney Plus is coming now. We got Apple TV Plus, and more and more and more and more and more. And the price tag is starting to add up. Like we talked about that the other day, that as we look over our monthly bills, it's like, oh yeah, look at all these services I'm paying for now. Like I also pay for HBO Now, and I pay for the YouTube TV, and I pay for Showtime, and it adds up. One of my favorite things though about these streaming services is that I don't have to watch commercials. I mean, things like, the NBC app, you got to watch commercials, but you don't pay for the NBC app. The CW app on my Roku, I got to watch commercials, but I don't pay for the CW app on my Roku. With all these other ones, the great thing about it is there's no commercials. So the Netflix shows, I watch them, no commercials. Hulu, now I pay a couple of extra bucks for ad-free Hulu, but to me it's worth it to not have commercials. Amazon Prime, I don't have to watch commercials. It's great. As a consumer, Rob, as somebody who watches this stuff, as a customer, would you be okay? Let's, for argument's sake, take Netflix, say it's $16 a month, right? Would you be okay for them, say, reducing the cost of Netflix to, say, $11 a month? So $5 off a month, that's like a 30% savings. But you're going to have to deal with commercials. Where's that trade-off for you?
That's a good question. You know, I hate commercials. One of the great things about streaming is not having commercials. And when you're into streaming, especially binge watching shows, being interrupted, getting the flow interrupted is annoying. Now, I think that the very idea that I'm paying for a premium streaming service would make sure that I don't have to deal with commercials. If suddenly Netflix was adding commercials to my viewing experience, I would have to rethink it, because that's why I'm paying the initial subscription fee. And if they had to increase the fee by a couple of bucks, like say even $5, if they went up $5, which is a lot, that's a huge increase for Netflix, because they were going to go to commercials or even limited commercials, I might consider doing it. I mean, that's a huge percentage. What is that, like 33% or something more than I'm paying now? Yeah. Now, I would be angry about it. I'm like, how did you? That's a huge change in your business model. It would not be pleasing to me. But if they said, we got you over a barrel, kid. You want to watch the OA season 3? You're gonna have to do it and pay commercials. I'm a big Brit Marling fan, so I'm like, okay, she's pretty hot. I'll pay an extra $5 to get her uncommercialized. Sure. But it would be bothersome. And if then all of the streaming services did it, I would now be paying how much more extra money to not get commercials? The whole point of paying for a streaming service is to not get commercials.
Sure, but the question is, would you, if the streaming services came to you, as he posted in the question, and say, we're going to offer you an option to not charge you more to make sure you don't get commercials, but we will reduce your bill. We will cut your bill in exchange for us throwing in ads and commercials. So instead of paying $16 a month, say for Netflix, you pay $11 a month. You save $5 a month.
No. I'm already paying money. I would not want my bill reduced so I can. It's not that much money. I mean, it's worth it to me. The amount of streaming that I pay. That's why I'm saying I would even pay more money if they decided we're going to put commercials on our service. Period. I mean, but no, even if they reduced my money, no, I wouldn't want to do that. I just don't want commercials. That's why I pay for streaming. That's it. I mean, I just don't want commercials.
Ash, let me ask you that question. So, I mean, we're all paying a bunch of money now because we all subscribe to a whole bunch of these streaming services. If they came and said, hey, guess what? We'll cut your bill by like a third, but you're going to have to put up with about, 8 minutes of commercials per 30-minute show or whatever. Is that something you go for? Or are you like, no, as a consumer, I'm good paying what I'm paying with no commercials?
I think it really depends. If you already are paying a certain price, then I don't care. I don't want it slashed for commercials. But maybe as a new consumer, if I was choosing one or the other, I might be cheap and go for the commercial route, but if I'm already paying, I'm definitely not going to slash and go for commercials. That's obnoxious to me. So,
but you know what else? You know what else, John? I'll tell you something that it just occurred to me. It depends what kind of commercials they were.
Yeah,
like if I was assured of getting exclusive movie trailers. Like if Netflix, these are going to be movie trailers that you could only see on Netflix. I do not want to watch commercials for Cialis or psoriasis or whatever pill I need to take to make myself feel better. I don't want to watch that kind of stuff. I don't want to watch car commercials. I don't want to watch beer commercials. But if I could get commercials that might be tailored to my viewing needs, like if they put on hot toy commercials, for instance, something that was geeky, like if genre shows, a horror show, for instance, like The Haunting of Hill House, if I was assured that I would only get commercials that would be pertinent to my interest in horror, then I might be like, okay. And if they could figure out a way to do that, I might be interested, because I would love to see exclusive ads for the new horror films coming up. And maybe if they would only put them at the beginning, like after the opening credits and before the end credits, I might be interested in that. But the basic broadcast TV commercial model, no. But if they came up with a new way to deal with commercials, I might be into it.
You want them to pull a Facebook and data mine all your personal information.
Yeah, yes. Exactly.
Yes, as a matter of fact. Yes. Well, hey guys, I want to know. Let me ask you guys that question. If all the streaming services, because it's starting to get expensive, if they came to you and said, "Hey, we'll cut your bill, but you got to watch commercials," is that worth it to you? Or are you like, nah, I like not having commercials? Commercials make the world go round, man. Like shows like this are only possible because of commercials. But really, would that be something to you? I don't know that I would. I might be siding with Rob on this. Jump down in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Okay, guys. Now with all that down and out of the way, we're running overtime today, but that's all right. We have a lot of good stuff to talk about. Let's jump over now and take some live questions. You guys have already been throwing in a whole ton of live questions. So Ashley, get things started. What's going on in the live chat today?
All right. And I'm in commercials, so I should love them a lot more. That's how I make a living. All right. J Meister 25. Movie trolling asshats, educate them or laugh them off.
Laugh them off. Only because look, in debates, 95% of the time in debates, you are never going to change the other person's mind. People don't come into debates with open minds. People go, and I'm speaking for all of us most of the time. Most of the time, we're all guilty of this. We don't go into a debate with an open mind. We go into a debate trying to convince the other person. And so there is just no arguing them. So arguing with them is just, hey, point out a fact or two if you want, but after that, just understand they're not there to have their mind changed. So just laugh it off and move on. That's what I found to be the best way of approaching it anyway. All right, what's next?
James Argenta, Making Star Wars, posted the retail art from E9.
Yeah, well, whether it's retail art or whether it's just concept or whether it's for in-house only or whether it's for inter-industry promotion, whatever, I really doubt that was something that's meant to be a public piece of promotion. So I doubt that, but I think, Rob, you and I are on the same page with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I love seeing Lando. That's exciting.
That's cool. And I got to admit, as ridiculous as it feels, kind of like seeing 3PO with a gun. I don't know why. I got to kick out
Chewbacca's bandolier. I'm telling you, if I could get a one sheet of just that with a cool background and it just says the rebellion continues or something.
The rebellion
is reborn. Come on.
That would be kind of fun.
I want that hot toy figure of C-3PO with the bowcaster. You know what? I'm going to go get my bowcaster from my Hot Toys Chewbacca, and I'm going to put it with C-3PO.
Put it on C-3PO.
Make that happen.
See if you can make the bandolier on there, too. All right.
I can.
What's next?
Willow Yang, where did the humans in Star Wars come from? Are they actually humans, or are they alien species that happen to look like humans?
Willow, this is one of those times when we go, you're looking way too much into it. You're thinking about it too much. We're just, that's what we look like. That's
no,
what.
Man, she's a molecular biologist. She's asking a very pertinent question when it comes to the Star Wars universe. I'd say they're humanoid, but they're not entirely human beings like us.
That's a great way to look at it, actually. I mean, there is, in the Star Wars galaxy, particularly in the age of the Empire, there is great racism. Like humans only, like any non-human thing was completely prejudiced against. So I don't know. I think they call them human. No, in Star Wars they do call themselves human beings. because we heard Han Solo refer to Jabba the Hutt as you being a wonderful human being. But of course, at the time, that's when Jabba was a human being and not the slug that we know him as now. All right, what's next?
Ahmad Ismail, shouldn't it be Nano Man instead of Iron Man now?
Thank you, Ahmad. Absolutely, it should. It's no longer Iron Man now. It's Nano Man. This drives me crazy. The nano.
Can't wait to get that Hot Toys figure, though. It comes out in like the next 3 months.
Probably look pretty badass. All right, what's next?
Easy target. Janet told Scott not to get sucked in by Time Vortex in Q Realm and Ant-Man and Wasp mid-credits.
She did.
Yep, and a lot of people, that's why a lot of people believe that Scott being in there at that time and all that kind of stuff is going to play a role, maybe a very major, significant role in Endgame.
You know, well, I was thinking about this, John. We've seen that picture in the trailer where Scott Lang is looking at the missing posters on the phone pole.
And all the overgrowth on people's lawns. And
So what if he was actually stuck in the quantum realm for a couple of years?
Oh, that's been one of the theories floating around.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Or, you know, he was stuck in the quantum realm for what to him felt like 100 years, and it was only a year. Or maybe he was in there for what he thought was 5 seconds, got out, and 2 years had passed.
Theory of relativity. Time passes differently when you're traveling at the speed of light.
A lot of possibilities. All right, what's next?
Suthius, 85. Morning, guys. After watching Aquaman, I don't care how it happens. It just needs to happen. One-on-one between Atlanta and Frigga. Just imagine it.
Well, there's a lot of problems with that, mostly because they're characters from different studios. So I don't think that can happen, but it would be badass. I mean, these are two. I love the way that these comic book studios are making moms completely badass. I love the way they're doing that, and I loved Atlanta in Aquaman, and obviously I love Rene Russo's character in Thor. So it would be fun to see, but obviously that's not something we're ever going to see, obviously. All right, what's next?
Gabriel Reed, unpopular opinion, but I had a better time with The Dirt versus Bohemian. I enjoyed both a lot. Is The Dirt a great movie? No, but I enjoyed it more.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Gabriel. I haven't watched it yet myself. Again, I'm not hearing great things from people about it. Rob, I know you were really looking forward to it. Did you have a chance to sit down and watch it?
I haven't watched it yet, but I talked to my good friend Dave Parker, director of Hills Run Red, and this is right in his wheelhouse, and he said it was a lot of fun.
Oh, well, see, there you go. Yeah, I haven't heard great things about it, but you obviously liked it, Gabriel. Rob knows some people that liked it, and so one of these days I'll sit down and watch it. All right, what's next?
Canada rocks. Love your new podcast. Is the recommendation segment gone? For 2012, my hidden gem is Premium Rush.
Oh, the one with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. That's actually a fun little movie. I like that.
I like that too.
He's right, Robert. We totally forgot to do the recommendation part on the 2012 podcast. You're completely right about that, Canada Rocks. We will not miss that again. I didn't even realize that we missed that segment until you mentioned it. But
we were having so much fun recording that segment. It was,
It was a lot. We love doing this podcast. Cody loves doing it with us. And thank you guys to all of you guys who have been subscribing to the podcast and checking it out and sending in your comments on it. We're loving doing it. And I will make sure not to miss that again, Canada Rocks. Thanks for the heads up. All right, what's next?
Alex Town said, any advice on setting up movie news websites?
Well, let's be clear. You're probably not setting up a movie news website. Like for the longest time when I was doing the movie blog, I would always emphasize people, this isn't really a movie news site because I don't go out and break the stories and do the reporting and all that kind of stuff. I'm a pundit. I sit here and talk about the story. So just be clear about that because it sounds like you're in the same boat as me. The best thing I can say is on YouTube, search for John Campea Getting Started on YouTube. And the top video that will come up is this video on getting started in blogging, YouTubing, and podcasting. It's a 2-hour video. Most of my advice is in there. That's where you should go and get that stuff. So go check that out. All right, what's next?
Jerome Smith, the second. Guys, I'm not going to like it, but won't hate it. He'll be back in Endgame in a major way. I am burdened with glorious purpose. He's been telling us that shit for years, and no one takes him seriously. LOL.
Oh, I take Loki seriously. I don't think Loki's going to be back, but there will be a certain movement of joy in my pants if he is. I love Loki. I love this character. I love it when he says, I'm burdened with glorious purpose. It's one of the best lines ever in comic book movie history. And I hope you're right. I hope you're right, Jerome. I hope he does come back, but I'm thinking he doesn't. Rob?
Dude, Loki's coming back. Come on, man.
Really? You think so?
If Gamora's coming back, if Gamora was sacrificed for the Soul Stone and she's doing reshoots for Endgame, My man Loki is back. Tom Hiddleston, the best dressed man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's got the best headpiece. He rocks green the way he does. I mean, he is coming back. He's the funniest dude. Loki is back. Loki's back. I don't know how. I don't know where. I don't know. I have no clue. But I'm telling you, my main man is coming back to wreak havoc, wreck shop, and cause everyone to smile.
There you go, Jerome. You got one of us. I hope you're right, guys. I hope both of you, Jerome, you and Rob, I hope you're both right. I don't think you are, but I hope you are. All right, let's move on. What's next?
Ben Jesus says, some movies have a better ending, but not Us. Saw Us last night with a buddy. Agreed the ending was meh, but the rest of the movie and Lupita were great.
You just summed up my feelings on it perfectly, Ben. I found the movie really entertaining. I thought it was tense, wonderfully performed by Lupita Nyong'o, just crazy, and the kids, and Winston Duke. I thought it was great. Till the end. I thought the end was a complete driveling mess, to be honest. The more I think about it, the worse the ending gets to me, to be honest with you. But that does not take away that the overall body of the film is really enjoyable, and I would highly recommend it. But yeah, Ben, my feelings. Have you had a chance to catch Us yet?
I have not, and I'm going to do it. I've just been working so hard on the film, and I'm going to see it this weekend.
Right. Before we go to Vegas.
Yes.
Or, hey, there's a big AMC theater right off the strip, like only a couple miles off the strip. We can probably go check it out there if we wanted to. All right, what's next?
Suthius85, I'm starting to think that Captain might die, prompting Sam and Bucky to leave the team for their own adventures, hence Disney Plus series. Same goes for Wanda and Vision, starting a new life together in Disney Plus.
I mean, I don't know if the death of Steve Rogers necessitates that. I think they can do that on their own. It could honestly be, Cap could be alive, and just their series starts with, hey, there's something we need looked into, and everybody's doing other things. Sam, Buck, I need you guys to go look into this. And that's the series. That's the 10 episodes, or it's the 6 episode season, or the 8 episodes, however many episodes it's going to be. That's the series. So what you're proposing, could that be Cap dying, be the spark that sends them off on their own? It's like, hey, I may not like you all that much, but Cap loved you, so that's good enough for me. Like, you know what I mean? And maybe that necessitates it. Maybe the Vision Wanda thing, maybe that does that too. I don't know. Rob, what do you think?
I like the idea that somehow after all this, there's some great tragedy. There's a great cost at bringing back. I mean, it's half the universe after all. Someone's got to sacrifice something. And I think the idea that the Avengers are fractured and beaten. I mean, maybe it's the Avengers that are sacrificed in order to bring all of these creatures back to life, and maybe phase 4 is about, and phase 5 or 6 or whatever is about rebuilding a new Avengers team in the wake of this. I mean, after the decimation, the Avengers are going to be not the same people they were before. So that could be cool. I like the idea of them going off and having to build a new Avengers team.
All right, what's next?
Brian Esparza, seeing these definitely joke theories about Ant-Man going up Thanos' ass and growing to defeat him is making me lose faith in humanity.
Well, I mean, but think about it for a second. From a theoretical point of view, it is a valid strategy. Yep. Look, you could also make the argument that Thanos is so strong. I've heard this about the Hulk too, that Ant-Man could take down Hulk. You just go inside Hulk and then grow. And the argument was made that Hulk is so strong that if Ant-Man tried to grow, he would just collapse in upon himself and die trying to grow inside Hulk. So now we're really, now we're nerding out here a bit. So, but I guess you could theoretically say the same thing about Thanos, is that Ant-Man could go up Thanos's, naked cavity and try to expand, but it would just kill him trying to do that. And maybe not out. But just rest assured, everybody, the Russo brothers took to social media and addressed this theory. And they specifically said, guys, just to let you know, no, Ant-Man is not going to go up Thanos' ass and try to expand to kill him. So there's a theory that's been shot down, Rob. Were you worried about that?
Thanos has a cast iron colon. Everyone knows it. You
cast iron colon.
You can't destroy Thanos from the inside.
All right, what's next?
Except with his heart.
Jay Bling, Boss Logic did a Deadpool and Wolverine Avenger and Fallen poster respectively, and someone else did a Fallen poster for John Wick's first puppy.
Oh, I haven't seen those, but I would like to see those. First of all, I like seeing anything Boss Logic does. That dude is a treasure to the fan community, but I would like to see the puppy one is great. That one's great. All right, what's next?
Stephen Mina, will we ever get Court of Owls in DCEU?
Whenever you use the word ever in a question, the answer is always yes. Will we ever blank, 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 blank? Probably, because forever is a long time.
And I love that storyline.
Yeah, the Court of Owls stuff is really good. They tried to do it in Gotham really badly.
Yeah.
They tried to do Court of Owls in Gotham, which is, that show sucked when they tried to be a Batman light show. So ever, yeah, I think ever we'll see it at some point. All right, what's next?
Dalton Burdett, do you think there will be an awards pushed for Affleck in his upcoming Torrance performance?
It's impossible to say. For all I know, Ben Affleck sucks in that movie. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I love Ben Affleck, or he's great, but I don't know how we can talk about his awards potential when we haven't even seen the movie. So gotta wait till I see the movie. Like, once I see the movie, I can give you an answer about whether I think this is a performance worthy of giving an awards push to or not. But until we see the movie, there's nothing we can address at this point. All right, what's next?
Conjecture, do you think Earth knows the details of the snap, that it was Thanos? Did the Avengers have to hold a press conference? Are they keeping that a secret?
I would guess, and I have not talked to Kevin Feige about this or anything. My guess is that, yeah, they had to let the world in on what happened. I mean, that's just too big of a thing. That's just too big of a thing. Rob?
I'm right there with you. I mean, I actually want to see that. Like, can you imagine what late night or what the 24-hour news cycle would do? Like, we know the world knows aliens exist because of the battle for New York. But beyond that, I don't think.
And they just attacked New York again in Infinity War. You know, right. when Iron Man disappeared.
Yeah. So I mean, coming back and explaining how, I mean, we would be reeling. I think the planet Earth would be. I can't even imagine what it would be like to live here if 50% of the population disappeared. I want to see that press conference. I want to see a montage of all the pundits. You know, when they get real world reporters from the different networks to talk about things. I love that in movies. I want like the epic opening 10-minute news cycle pundits from all over the world talking about the decimation. I want to see that. I mean, we're not going to get that.
I was about to say Wolf Blitzer. He's always in there.
I want to see that. all over the world. From all over the world.
All right, what's next?
Anderson Cooper, is on there, I'm sure.
No, he got snapped. He's not here.
Brian Esparza, also curious as to why Happy has a solar poster.
He's a consistent character in the MCU. He's been in a number of the films. He's going to be featuring prominently in Spider-Man Far From Home. He's a significant, important person to Tony Stark. Why not? And clearly have some kind of role to play in this film as well. So yeah. The question, Brian, is not why. The question is why not? And we'll find out pretty soon, less than a month now. All right, what's next?
Ben Jesusa, Boss Logic also created more of them new Avenge the Fallen posters that features DP, Logan, Goose, and Thanos. One that says F them Avengers, LOL.
I haven't seen these, but you guys are making me I can't wait for us to wrap up here so I can go and check those out. I like everything this dude does. He makes stuff so funny. And I remember when I first saw these posters, I imagine Ryan Reynolds is going to put something up on his Twitter with some kind of mockery of this. You know that's got to come at some point. But have you seen any of these ones yet, Rob?
No, I know, and I want to go see them all now.
I cannot wait to see them. All right, what's next?
Avenge the Chicken, greetings from Atlanta. Looking forward to April. Going to Coachella for the first time and Avengers Endgame.
And also, what's this? Some show, Rob? Some show. What's that show?
Something about game playing people.
It's a board game, right? It's Dungeons and Dragons.
It might as well be or it's a metal board game because you see there's like a
swords.
Clockwork mechanism that makes people the towns grow big and small depending.
And by the way, guys, there's another little movie opening called Shazam, which if you have not seen my review of this movie, watch my review and get excited. The hype is real. The movie's great. So do not look past Shazam. I know I completely understand the temptation to look past Shazam to Endgame. I get it. I do. I'm just saying don't. Pay attention to Shazam. Go see Shazam. It is a hell of an entertaining movie. So make sure you guys check that out in April as well. All right, what's next?
Brian Esparza, sad to see no poster for Korg. Piss off, Ghost.
Me too. I also want to see Boss Logic. I might have said this the other day. Do one with Korg that says "Avenge the other Doug." I thought that would have been fun too, or just piss off Ghost would have been great. But I want to see Korg in there. And no one's ever confirmed that Korg is going to be in this movie. Like we all assume he got off the ship with Valkyrie, but Man, I would love to see Korg in this. All right, what's next?
Stephen Mina, next Avenger to lead if Tony and Cap die in Endgame.
Doctor Strange.
Probably Doctor Strange. He seems to be, that seems to make the most sense. Or, I mean, take this, I'm not talking because he's more important, but think about it. Hawkeye. Hawkeye wouldn't be a bad leader. He's not the most powerful. He's not any of that, but he could probably be a big leader. But I tend to agree with you, Rob. I think it would probably be Doctor Strange. All right, what's next?
What about Captain Marvel? All right. Imra S. Love your show. I noticed YouTube channels that hate on movies grow fast. Advice for how a new channel with balanced, honest opinions can grow? My new channel is called The Geeky Realms. Thanks for inspiring me.
Same thing that I said before. First of all, I think more fans should start their own YouTube channels. I think it's good for fandom that to have more voices to the conversation. Again, go check out my videos. Just search on YouTube for John Campea Getting Started. You'll find a 2-hour video on that. And you're right. Look, the thing is this. Hate stuff gets a lot of clicks and gets a lot of early clicks. And over the years, I've seen a number of these sites and these channels come and then go. And there are a couple I know in mind, and I don't name any channels specifically, but there are a number of channels where it's like you go to their channels and their hate stuff will have a bunch of views. And then you look at any other videos they put up that aren't hate stuff, nothing. Like no views whatsoever. So they stick with the hate stuff, and then eventually that gets tired and the channel dies. But it is easier. It's kind of like Yoda and the dark side of the Force. Is the dark side more powerful? No. Quicker, easier, all that kind of stuff. Doing hate stuff can get you a lot of clicks, but it's not good for the community. It's not good long term. There's nothing wrong. Hey, there's something that pisses you off, make a video about it. Absolutely. Just don't become a channel that's your identity. Rob, when we were at Comic-Con this past year and we did my panel, I said my number one piece of advice, we had an audience there that was looking to start new YouTube channels. I said, my one piece of advice is this. Don't become identified by what you hate. Become identified by what you love. That doesn't mean don't be critical. That doesn't mean don't say something bothers you, say something bothers you. But don't be so focused on the negative that when people just think of you, oh yeah, that's the channel that hates this. Don't be identified by that.
I'm with you 100%. I learned a lot from you, and I've only had my YouTube channel for the last, 3 months, not even 3 months now, and I've been preaching what I'm all about is positivity for the most part. And while I don't get a lot of views, I have a very loyal base, and they're very, very supportive, and it's been great fun. And the letters and the positivity I've been getting from literally all over the world has been a byproduct I wasn't even aware of after listening to you talk, but it's been an enormous boost, both personally and if you call YouTube professionally, then very much so. I think positivity is the way to go because there isn't much of it.
Yeah. It's true. Again, that doesn't mean don't be negative. That doesn't mean don't express when something bothers you or there's something you don't like. Of course you do. Just don't be so focused on it and get lured in by the easy hate clicks that you become identified by what you hate instead of by what you love. Anyway, that's just my thought.
I like the Geeky Realms. That's a good name.
It's a good name. All right, what's next?
Gabriel Reed, I swear to God, if Captain doesn't say Avengers Assemble in Endgame, I'll stand up and do it myself. Don't tempt me, Cap. You already teased it once, jerk.
Yeah, I love the idea of that in theaters across America, it's coming clear that we're almost at the end credits and just theaters across America, various people just standing up, screw it, I'll do it myself. Avengers Assemble, and somebody doing that. God, I want this to happen in this movie. Look,
Me too.
I've been preaching a gospel lately, Rob, of don't create check boxes of what movies have to do in order for you to like it. But I have to admit, I'm human, and I've got this little checkbox in my head that they got to have Cap say Avengers Assemble, right? I mean, what are the chances, set a percentage, what are the chances we actually see Captain America say Avengers Assemble?
100.
So there's no room for error here. It's 100%
no room
he's going to do it.
Captain America is going to say Avengers Assemble 100%. Absolutely, positively, it will happen.
I hope you are right. Okay, what's next?
M. Excuse me. I love how quickly we got so many meme posters of the Endgame ones. I personally loved the Stan Lee and Goose one. What were some of your favorites?
Again, I haven't really seen any of them, although I did see the Stan Lee one. The Stan Lee one was, I think you showed that one to me, Rob. That one was great.
And the Han Solo.
Yes. Hashtag hadn't had it coming. So anyway, but that was funny. That was funny that they made one of that. I just love that the fan community moves so quickly. And not only that it moves quickly, I love that the fan community that we have online loves to spread joy too at the same time. Because when something fun and like just wonderful comes out that would make us smile, the movie fan community is very quick to spread it and to send it out and to just share the joy, right? I love that the movie fan community does that. I love we have creative people in the fan community who puts stuff like this together. And it just makes being a film fan all the more fun. You know what I'm saying?
Celebrate the love, as the Ewoks would say.
Is that what the Ewoks said?
Celebrate the love.
By the way, that's the only true song at the end of... What's with that freaking pan flute nonsense they put in the special edition?
I love that piece of music, though. Come on, that's
it's a nice
Williams.
Piece of music, but it's not the right ending for Return of the Jedi. You don't take out that great tribal celebration song for do 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 do. It sounds like, what was that guy's name? Zamfir,
the master of the pan flute.
The pan flute. Do, 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 do. It's like, come on, put that. Ewoks ain't playing pan flutes. They're playing the heads of their dead enemies as drums, and they're singing to the night sky. Come on, and
they were
going to
eat our heroes. They were going to roast Han Solo over a spit.
Alive. They weren't even going to kill him first. They were going to burn him and cook him alive, and then eat his flesh as he screamed in pain. That's the Ewoks, ladies and gentlemen. All right, what's next?
Travis Bickle. Yesterday, someone asked if you watch Teen Titans Go to the Movies, and I'm a little surprised that you have no interest in seeing it. This is one of those rare comedies done right. I legit laughed.
You know what's funny? I've been told by a number of people, hello, Grizz. I've been told by a number of people that it's actually quite enjoyable. I've been told by a bunch of people, and I thought the trailer was an insult to human intelligence. That's just me. But I was interested and curious only because I heard so many people say they liked it. And Anne was really into it. She really wanted to go see it. But then when Anne got back from a trip, she had watched it on the plane and she got back. She goes, I didn't like it. So I'm like, that killed all my enthusiasm. But maybe at some point or now, Rob, you still haven't seen it either, right?
I haven't either, but I really want to see it because I love the Teen Titans.
Okay, time for just a couple more quick ones. We've had a long show today, guys. My apologies, but we'll take a couple more quick ones. What's next?
Dan Ketchum, over under 10%. Captain says to Dusted, Avengers, reassemble.
I'm going to go ahead and I don't often do this. I'm going to take the big goose egg on that. I'm going to take the Zero Avengers reassemble. That's some CW stuff that they might do on the CW, but I do not think they'll say that. All right, last question of the day. What's next?
Julius Goodwin, I fear not the man that has practiced 10,000 kicks one time, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, just what, again, it came up the other day, but that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood trailer, that dude, whoever it is Quentin Tarantino got to play play Bruce Lee, he nailed it. Like
nailed it. Looks
on
so good.
The nose, nailed it. And remember, you ever see that interview with him when he talks about a cup of water? That interview with Bruce Lee. If you guys gotta go look it up. If you want to like some Bruce Lee Zen, you go and watch that. That's pretty sick. So, all right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Listen, for those of you who still have questions that we're waiting to get answers from YTA, I'm Upset, Atray Gaming, all the way down. Do not worry. I'm going to make a companion video today. All your questions are getting answered in a video today. Just keep an eye open for that. That'll come a little bit later this afternoon, early this evening, and we will get to those questions as well. We just ran out of time here. All right, guys, I want to thank the people joining me here talking about our favorite things in the world. First of all, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and its companion website, theburnettwork.net.
And, of course, also we're joined by Ashley Whalen. Ashley, where can people find you?
You guys can look me up on my Instagram. It's my name, Ashley Whalen, with 2 Y's, or you can find me on my Twitter. It's AshAttack1.
And, of course, you guys can find me on my Instagram at John Campea, and go and visit the website, www.thejohncampeashow.com. I also got some blog posts that I put up there to keep everybody in the loop. And, of course, guys, one more time, make sure you use your favorite podcasting app. Go and check out Best Movie, Worst Movie. That's with me, of course, Robert, and our friend Cody Miller, Olympic gold medalist and movie fanatic. Go check that out and subscribe, rate, and comment. That'll do it for us for today, guys. Thanks so much for being here. My name's John Campea, and until our next show, bye-bye.